One of the most profound statements that I've heard about mental health is that telling somebody who has depression or an anxiety disorder to just get over it is the equivalent of telling somebody in a wheelchair to just get up and walk. Welcome back. We are reading the Diary of St. Faustina. This is our 31st section here, and we are going from journal entries 1322 to 1370 in her diary. One section that stuck out to me is when St. Faustina wrote, "When one's health is poor, there is much one has to bear. For when one is ill but not in bed, one is considered not to be ill. For many reasons, therefore, there are constant occasions for sacrifices, and sometimes big ones." Now, in St. Faustina's case, she was actually very physically sick, but I think she was just maybe having a good day or something, which is what she was referring to. But I wrote down here in my notes, it's a good reminder of mental health, how sometimes people with mental health issues are deeply struggling, but they're not bound in the same way somebody may be if it is a very serious physical ailment. And so a lot of times when people don't see you laying in a bed or, using crutches or a walker or something like that, people assume that you're fine. And you could be dealing with a great deal of physical pain. Although people should be understanding of that, they're not. We can't fully blame them, because if we do not visually see or know what somebody is going through, we can assume that maybe they're faking it or maybe they're over-exaggerating it, because sometimes people do fake and over-exaggerate it, and because of that, we tend to be a little bit more cautious. But it is a good reminder not only to be compassionate to others, but if we are dealing with something interiorly where people may not really understand it, or even if we do have a physical ailment, but we don't want to complain about it or make a big deal about it, we can use that as an occasion of sacrifice. And instead of getting defensive and thinking, wow, all these people are so intolerant of me and they're not understanding and compassionate of what I'm going through, think, you know what, this is a sacrifice, and I'm going to take this as such. Especially with mental health, I think sometimes it's really helpful to vent, but if we have to not do that and keep things very much in ourselves, it's really a challenge. So I was pondering that in my mind, and then later on in this section, St. Faustina started making these charts. Now these were for, I think, just a general examination of conscience, but she tallies her victories and defeats over sins, which is very helpful if you're visual or a list maker to keep track of stuff, maybe in some sort of notebook or diary. But I think it could also be good for our sacrifices, like if we hold out and get through a day of not complaining about our ailment, maybe we can tally that as a victory, or vice versa with the defeats. So sometimes maybe having some sort of actual physical, tangible, written down plan of action or record of what's going on could be of help to us. We can utilize very tangible methods of growing in our walk with Christ. And so I thought that was fun to see her little tallies. I don't fully understand everything that she wrote down, but a whole list of different victories in different categories. So for example, there's love of neighbor, humility, patience, silence, holy mass, communion, meditation, and stuff. So it's cool to see what she does, and I want to try writing down some things that maybe I want to focus on, maybe certain virtues and stuff, maybe some different virtues and vices, and just going through and doing some little tallies and adding up the numbers. And maybe it'd be cool to see over time how it changes. With YouTube, we always hear about analytics. These are almost like analytics of ourselves or of our souls. And I think that's a pretty cool concept that she brought to mind. So have any of you done something like this where you keep track of these types of things in a notebook or using a tally system? And if so, how has it worked for you? I'd love to hear it, or if you have any resources, or maybe there's somebody who does this type of practice, who has a blog or something that you could share. Let me know in the comments if this is something you've done or heard of. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time. Bye, everyone.